Let's bring in the foreign editor for The Australian, Greg Sheridan. There's so much happening at the moment. It's unbelievable. Greg, welcome. I read your front page story in The Australian today. You reckon Labor finally got one of these defence purchases right by locking in the Japanese frigate deal? I mean, about time, yes?
Oh, absolutely. Steve, great to be with you. So this is a good decision, but of course it could have been made 2 or 3 years ago. There's no reason for the absurd delay. But they finally decided to buy a modern warship. It's not a huge ship. We should be getting more powerful destroyers, you know, like the Arleigh Burkes with 100 vertical launch cells. But this is pretty good. This is a very modern, stealthy Mogami Japanese frigate. It's got 32 vertical launch cells, as many as our Hunter frigates are going to have. We're going to get the first 3 of them built in Japan, which means there's a good chance they'll come in on schedule and on price. We're going to get 3 of them for under $10 billion, whereas our ludicrous Hunter frigates are going to cost $9 billion each and take longer to construct than a nuclear submarine. So we'll get the first one before the end of the decade, assuming we don't bugger them up by putting, you know, sort of special bespoke platypus radars on them or something like this. Assuming the government can keep the defence organisation away from them and just let the Japanese manufacture them, we will at last get some modern platforms. Now, it's way too little, it's way too late, but even a blind pig finds an acorn occasionally, so well done to the government. They've done something, they've done something right eventually.
It does make you wonder, though, what would have happened if Tony Abbott hadn't lost the Prime Ministership to Malcolm Turnbull and we had gone down the Abbott track, dealt with the Japanese on submarines, and I think I heard you say somewhere the other day that we'd probably had the first one of them in the water by now.
Yeah, it was always planned that we'd get those subs beginning in the mid-2020s. The Japanese make brilliant conventional submarines. They were making the Soyuz then. I think their new class is called the Tegus or some such. We would certainly have upgraded with the Japanese. They would be great conventional subs, and assuming we didn't over-design them insanely, they would have been delivering the first ones now. And if we'd allowed the first few to be built in Japan while we trained up a workforce, we could have built the last few in Australia. If we're going to get 12, if we got 3 or 4 built in Japan and then the rest built in Australia after we had a workforce and knew how to do it, that would have been the way to go. And we would have had a very capable fleet of conventional submarines. Maybe we'd go nuclear after that. But at the moment, we're headed to have no submarines at all. And of course, the other thing is, Abbott had this vision of strategic alignment and intimate engagement between Japan and Australia as part of a 3-way Japan, Australia, United States military arrangement. And now the Albanese government is implementing that a decade late and with a smaller defence project, but it has those same benefits. And Beijing will hate it, and that's another reason it's such a good idea. But it's a joy to see the Albanese government implementing the Abbott strategic vision.
You must say that we've wasted a hell of a lot of time, both sides of politics. I mentioned with Caroline Marcus there that UN speech that was done today from the Palestinian representative. I wanted to ask you about these chats between French President Macron and Anthony Albanese. Now, our Prime Minister still can't get to talk to Donald Trump, but Macron seems to pick up the phone whenever he calls, and he's also spoken to Palestinian leaders. We are going to join the chorus of recognising Palestine, I gather, but what exactly are we recognising?
Well, Steve, that's a $64 million question. I mean, this is really low-grade stuff from the Albanese government. They are not making any contribution to the Middle East at all. This is all about gesture and performative politics for their base in Australia and for managing the politics of the left in Australia and for getting some brownie points with the ABC. To recognise a Palestinian state when no Palestinian state exists, to recognise a Palestinian state without substantial negotiation with Israel, to recognise a Palestinian state as a direct result of the barbaric unbelievable, epoch-marking, savage terrorism of October 7 is just futile and counterproductive. Now, I'm quite critical of Israel's conduct in Gaza in the last few months. I think it's been futile, and Israel is losing a great deal internationally, and it's encompassing a humanitarian tragedy in Gaza. But this does nothing to address the humanitarian tragedy in Gaza, and it makes no useful contribution. It's a great reward for Hamas. Hamas can look at every moderate in the Palestinian territory and say, look what you got. You got nothing. We went and killed 1,200 Jews, and look, the world has rewarded us with formal recognition of a Palestinian state. That's what the Albanese government is signing up for in this instance.
And who would the leader be of this Palestinian state?
Well, there is no leader, Steve. Nothing will happen. You know, the Soviet bloc recognised a Palestinian state decades ago, and it didn't lead to the establishment of a Palestinian state. Canberra recognising a Palestinian state today, tomorrow, or in 6 months' time won't lead to the establishment of a Palestinian state. Moreover, the Prime Minister, in a spasm of common sense a couple of weeks ago, said there would be some conditions on it, such as that Hamas would have no role, that it couldn't be a threat to Israel and so on. Well, if those conditions are met, that's great. But if those conditions are not met, the Albanese government says it's still going to recognise a Palestinian state anyway, because it says it's when, not if, and it's obviously doing it in concert with these other nations. Now, those conditions won't be met. The terrorist groups will still be attacking Israel. There won't be an eradication of Hamas and all the rest of it. There won't be democratic reform in the Palestinian Authority and all the rest. You can just bank on that. But that won't cause our government to pause for a single second, because this is all about gesture politics and the management of the left in Marrickville and Glebe and, Richmond and what have you. It's got nothing at all to do with making any positive contribution in the Middle East, and it is morally vacuous.
Well said, Greg, 100%. Thanks for joining us. I'll talk to you again soon. That's Greg Sheridan there, the foreign editor with the Australian